to. Now the herringbone half double crochet is you yarn over, insert it into your first stitch, yarn over and pull through. So far just like a regular half double crochet. But now, before we yarn over next, we're going to actually pull this last loop through this middle one. And what I find easiest is to hold this one out of the way and rotate my hook down so that the lip of the hook kind of catches that last loop, and then I can pull it through just that middle one. Then I have 2 loops left on my hook, so I yarn over and pull it through 2. All right, we're going to do that all the way across. Yarn over, insert into the stitch, yarn over, pull through the stitch, hold this last one out of the way, rotate your hook down a little bit so that you can get it under that middle loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2. We'll do that a couple more times. Yarn over, into the stitch, pull the loop through, hold this loop out of the way, and just go under that first one. You see how I'm scooping a little bit, I guess. I'm moving my hook in a different manner so that I can more easily get under just that middle loop. Then yarn over and pull through 2. Here's the one at the edge. Yarn over, into the stitch, yarn over and pull through. Pull it through that middle loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2. Now I don't know if you can see the texture on that, but you see how it kind of makes this diagonal, right? All right, I did a few more rows of the herringbone half double crochet, just alternating, just going back and forth. And you can see that only every other row has that diagonal because we've been doing the same motion on each side. There's the diagonal. And this will make a perfectly good mitt. So if you can't quite get working from the back of the fabric like I'm going to show you next, don't worry about it. Just working this herringbone half double crochet this way will make a perfectly fine mitt. But if you've ever made the herringbone single crochet stitch, you know that every other row is actually worked from the back of the fabric. And so I prefer to work my herringbone half double crochet that same manner from the back of the fabric. And so this is how I do that. I've already chained one at the end, so I'm going to turn my work. Now I have the wrong side facing me. Usually when I wrap my yarn, I go this way. When I'm working from the back of the fabric, I need to go the other direction. Okay? So if you normally wrap your yarn over your hook this way, you're going to wrap the yarn over your hook the opposite way. And this can take a lot of brain exercise. So wrap it the other way around my hook, making sure that this actually ends up caught under the hook into the stitch from the back of the fabric. And then wrap it around your hook again. And I find it helpful if I rotate the hook so that the lip of the hook is facing down, and I can pull that to the back of the fabric. Now hold this last loop out of the way, and again rotate that hook down and pull it through just the first loop on the hook, and then wrap your yarn again. And this time I find it helpful to rotate the hook away a little bit and then pull it through 2. And this can take a lot of practice to get these motions because you're so used to doing everything a certain way, right? It's muscle memory. Scoop the yarn. Make sure you're catching it under that hook and insert it into the next stitch through the back. And I actually find maybe it's easier to think of the hook going over the yarn instead of the yarn going over the hook, because we're doing everything backwards, right? To make a mirror image, pull it through the stitch, hold this loop out of the way, kind of rotate your hook down to get it through that first loop, and then scoop that yarn and twist your hook away to get it through too. Now see, my tension was a little sloppy on that one. You see how big that top of that stitch is. And that's what I mean, that this can take some practice. So we'll work that all the way across. Scoop the yarn. And I find it helpful to actually hold those two now on my hook. Make sure you're catching the yarn under the hook there, right? Through the back of the fabric. Scoop the yarn again and pull it through. And then pull it through just that first loop on the hook. And then scoop the yarn again and pull it through too. Okay? And again, my tension is pretty loose here because I'm trying to show you. But once I get going, I can just about match the same tension from working through the back and working through the front. So we'll do that a few more times. We've got 2 more stitches here. Scoop the yarn, hold it on the hook. Make sure that this yarn is getting caught between the hook and the stitch you're going into from the back of the fabric. Scoop the yarn again, pull it to the back, holding this loop on the hook because we just want to go through the first one. And now scoop the yarn again, rotate the hook a little bit away from you and pull it through too. Scoop the yarn, hold them on your hook. Make sure you're catching that yarn in between your hook and the stitch you're entering. Oh. My yarn is splitting because I've used this a few times now. Scoop, pull it to the back, and I twist my hook. You see, I'm not afraid to twist my hook so that the lip of the hook can actually do the work for me. Pull it through just that first one, scoop the yarn again, and this time I'm going to twist the hook away, and you see how that it tucks this yarn under so that I can actually bring it under those loops. And again, this row is pretty loose because I was trying to make sure I showed you. But now, when we turn, chain 1 and turn, you can see now that the diagonal on this row is exactly the opposite direction to the diagonal on that row. So it might be helpful to actually put a stitch marker on the front of your fabric so that you always know this side we're working from the front. So on this next row, we're actually going to go through the front the same way we did the first row. Okay? The front of the fabric, under 1 loop, under 2. Pull it through, under 1 loop, under 2. Okay? Until the end of the row. And then when we reach the end of the row, I'm going to chain 1, turn like a page in the book, and now this is our wrong side row. So we're going to be working this one from the back of the fabric. That's why it's helpful to put this stitch marker. That way you always know you want to be inserting your hook on the same side that your stitch marker is on. And we're going to scoop. Remember, we're working the opposite direction. So when I usually go like this, I'm going to actually scoop it and then insert it into the stitch, pull through just the first one, and then finish the stitch. And now, because I've done this enough times, I can actually kind of match the same tension, and I can match the same speed. It's not more difficult for me anymore because I've done it so much. And that's why I'm encouraging you to practice this. That way your tension on both your wrong side rows and your right side rows will match. And then chain one at the end and turn. And you can see now we have three. We have a diagonal that goes this way, one that goes this way, and another one that goes this way.